All right, time for the second talk from Sven. So he just came over from London just for this meetup. A big round of applause. So very happy to have you here, and we are looking forward to your talk. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi. So I'm Sven. I'm working for the big orange cloud, Cloudflare. Please don't tweet this. I think marketing will hate me for that. Cool. So I want to start with, has anyone already instantiated a WebAssembly module using the JavaScript API? A couple of you? So basically, on the first line, you have an import object where you need to specify what the WebAssembly needs. So functions, number, whatever. And then I will go a bit in more details after that. And on line 7, this is where the magic happens. You actually instantiate the module. So imagine the module, you get this from somewhere. You pass the import object, and the JavaScript engine will take this and instantiate the JavaScript module, passing the imports. Once this is done, line 10, you get the exports back. So a WebAssembly module can expose functions, can expose values. This is where you can get them. That's very basic. This is what inside a WebAssembly module looks like, kind of, because I stripped like the code section and table sections and so on. Basically, you have an import section and an export section, which basically defines the API of your module. So let's say I'm exposing a function and I'm importing a number, stuff like that. And as Firma just mentioned, WebAssembly type system is quite B1 or something like that, because you only have numbers. So basically, you only have floats and ints, 32 bits and 64 bits. And the function is basically just like taking these types and returning new types. And so the question I'm asking is that, how can you get an application with that? How can you pass a DOM object to your WebAssembly module? And so one way of doing it now is that you can pass a function in the import object that sets the height, for example, of a particular DOM element. So that works, that's cool. You can call it from WebAssembly and pass whatever number you want. But the issue is that if you want to pass a string, you're still kind of screwed because you don't know how to pass a string, because you need to interpret the string, and depending on your language, it might depend. So that's really not an option if you're building an application. And so I will dive into this. I'm introducing to you REST and WebAssembly. It's a set of tools that the Rust core team or the Rust team actually worked on. So basically, the goal is to compile Rust to WebAssembly and provide some tools to help you have a real application using Rust. That's really cool. And so one of the tools is called Webassembly. Webassembly will generate the JavaScript glue code for particular Rust structures or Rust functions. So for example, the first example you can think of is that you can set like the content of a DOM element just by saying like line 2, set inner HTML, boom, your string. And Webassembly will do the magic, interpreting the string, passing it into JavaScript, calling the DOM, etc., etc. It's really simple to use. And then on line 1, on the second block, you can just return whatever struct you want to JS, just whatever Rust structure. And Webassembly will do the magic for you. So that's really handy. So you can see that as WebAssembly and JavaScript talking the same language, more or less, in a rich way, not only numbers. The other one is a more high-level tool, which is called Glue. It has ways to interact with the console. It has ways to interact with timers and so on. It's really like a bigger, high-level standard library that you can use in Rust to target like JavaScript features. So one of them is you can use timers. So if you want to use the JavaScript set timeout, it's just like this in Rust. You import the glue thing, and then just set a timeout, pass a closure, and that's it. It's really simple. And so one use case Cloudflare has for that is called binary EST. So, oops. So binary EST is basically just a compression algorithm or a format for JavaScript. That's really like another subject, but the thing is that, I don't know if you can see this. The thing is that it's really small. But the beginning is that we have a JavaScript parser written in JavaScript, and then we have the whole logic of binary EST written in Rust. And so we, Cloudflare, or especially Ingvar, wanted to deploy this at Cloudflare. And we were kind of screwed because we inherit from this big Rust code base, and we have no way to deploy it on our serverless, which runs V8 and has needs JavaScript. And so we use this tool to build this big thing where you can invoke the JavaScript parser, pass a big structure to Rust, and Rust will just give you the result as a structure, and so on. So my point is that you can use it. Cloudflare does. It's cool, and I will show you a demo later that it's quite simple to use if you know Rust. I say that because it's going to be funny, I think. So I have my small application here. Oh. So it's inspired by Soma, which did a Tinder for bananas. Cloudflare loves LavaLamp, so this is my branded Tinder for LavaLamps. And so I can step you through the code. So on your left side, I have my whole project. It's using Webpack. It's also using Rust. And so, for example, here's a Webpack configuration. If you are you familiar with Webpack? Could you maybe just raise your hands? Cool. So basically, it's like a basic Webpack configuration where you can specify an entry point and you can specify plugins. So we have a special Webassembly plugin, which will generate the glue code for you and eat your WebAssembly, your Rust code, and emit WebAssembly under the hood. And so then you have a Rust create with here the entry point, and it's super big. But here you have the main function. This is the only function I call in JavaScript. And what it's doing is that it is going to take a DOM element. It's going to target a DOM element where I'm going to create this UI in, any React application or stuff like that. And so I'm creating the image, and then I'm setting the image property on it. I'm setting also an ID and just appending. Sorry. Yeah, I mean you get the point. It's it really looks like JavaScript where you set append child when you create element and so on. It's really to get a feeling of JavaScript, but in Rust. And so the interesting part is that currently, each time you say or I don't like it, it will just generate a random. It will just get you a random lava lamp based on this array. What I want to do now is that I want this to be cloud-based because I work at Cloudflare, and so we can get an account on Tinder for lava lamps or get statistics. So what not? And so I prepared something for you is that I also have a server side, which uses Cloudflare workers. So it's more or less the same thing. We have a Webpack configuration, and we have a CLI tool called Wrangler, which I'm going to demo you in a second. Wrangler is going to take a Webpack configuration, run it, and deploy it on our cloud. And so here's what my serverless function looks like. Just handle whatever requests I get in. taking the route as a parameter, and just for now returning the route. So what I'm doing is that I'm going to deploy this function using Wrangler. So it's going to like build, deploy. And so now I have my URL. Oh, I need to zoom in. And if I call it using whatever route, it will just like return me the same route. That's what my function is doing. So what I want now is that I'm going to take this out. I don't want to store a list of lava lamps into my front end. I'm going to store it into my backend. I need all the good dependencies. I also need to so now I'm just moving dependencies between my client side and my server side. So I have my lazy init. Now I don't need any random function in my client anymore. I will just move it into my backend. Oh, by the way, so the random function here is actually the JavaScript random, which I need to include here. So I'm moving it into my backend. Since Cloudflare workers are just like a fancy JavaScript engine, I can use it. What else do I need? Oh, I have my utility function. OK, so now I think I have everything I need. Oh, no. So Wasm BrainGen also comes with something called JS-lib and web-lib, which are exposing JavaScript functionalities or web functionalities. So in the case of mat.random, I need the JS-sys to be able to call it. And so now I've imported it into my server side. And so now it seems to compile. So what I'm doing now is that instead of returning the route, I'm just going to return just a random lava lamp. And so I'm ignoring the route because I don't need it. Now I will redeploy it if it compiles. Thank you. Yeah, no. And so now each time I'm calling my function, it will just get me random lamp. And so now what I can do using this backend is that I'm going to change my front end to not rely on this random lamp, and instead use actually a JavaScript fetch request to get the lamp, and then set the URL I'm sending back into the image tag that I have here. So that sounds good. So I'm going to create a new function called like. So each time I like, here I have a like button. Each time I like a lava lamp, I'm going to make a request on the server to get a new one. But you can do something more clever, like just not, yeah, you get the point. So I want to get the image element. I had the image element, which is the HTML tag. So I can actually update it once you like. Wow, what do I need to do? So this is my like on-click event handler. So each time you click on like, I'm going to pass in my image. I'm not going to draw any lamp yet. So now I need the window. So now I'm going to grab the standard fetch window.fetch. So it's window.fetch with string. And then I need to pass the name, the URL of my function. And I'm going to pass a route because why not? I call it like. And so now you still have, so now it returns a promise because window.fetch returns a promise. And I can, it has a very similar API. I need to use .then and pass a callback to it. So I'm going to create a callback first. And now I need to, so this is where sometimes it's a bit complicated because it's maybe quite new, I don't know. But for example, to pass a JavaScript closure, you need to like use this closure.wrap and then have a boxed closure, REST closure. But if you copy paste it, it's pretty fine, I guess. And so now here, so it returns, let's just say, so it will return a response to you, but the thing, the API exposes you as like just an any or GS value. It's like just a generic container. So what you need to do is cast it as a response using this, using this. And so like in JavaScript, I can use text. And then I will just like call then. This is where like the callback hell comes again. And then once, so here I have my request back and I have my text. I decoded the response as a text. And now with the text, I'm calling then. And now I need to draw the new image. Draw image. And then again, it's also a closure. Here we go. And then I'm going to draw, so here's my old draw new lamp function. I'm going to call it again with image. And then here, I will have my new value, my new image src. And so as I said, so in that case, it's the same. You have like an any or a JavaScript value type, which can contain any type of JavaScript values. I need to cast it into a proper string. And then I can pass it to my draw level amp. And my draw level amp, I'm getting still my image. And I'm getting a string now, src string. So instead of get random level amp, because it's on the server side now, I'm just like passing the new string. And this has no way to compile, I think. Cool. OK, I'm missing a couple of imports. So I need to import requests from WebSys. So WebSys has a strange property, in my opinion, is that each time you want to like use a feature, you need to toggle it, which in the Rust sense. So I need to like request the response feature in Rust to be able to use it, which kind of makes sense, but yeah, you need to know it's enabled to use it. Does it compile? Wow, no, it doesn't. I need to pass my thing. And so I didn't mention that I started the Webpack dev server, so it will like compile on the fly each time I make a change. And so could not pass input as terminal. Oops. Perfect. OK, so now he is going to be funny. Where's my client-side code? Here. So here I'm missing an unwrap because this is returning a Rust result. And if you want to get the JavaScript promise, you need to unwrap it. And so in that case, Rust doesn't seem to not infer correctly the type, so I need to specify it. I'm just going to copy paste it. No. Nope, you saw nothing. Okay, so now still a REST specific thing. So the thing here is that this closure will be bound to JavaScript promise chain, but actually the like function scope is probably live less time than the closure, I guess. And so the thing is that you need to clone the tag to be able to pass it, I think. It's so close to compiling. Oh, cool. So now, so I actually broke my API now, my REST API. I will just like comment out every Joe new lamp code. This is unused. Okay, but it seems to compile, I think. Perfect. So now I don't draw an image straight away. I need to call my API to be able to get an URL to be able to like display an image. I did it on the cool. I did it on the on the like button. So now each time I call like, it will like invoke my REST closure, do the fetch, get the response, and so on. And so you probably noticed this big red thing. No, you don't notice? So the issue is that REST and JavaScript have different lifetime in the sense of when you declare a JavaScript function, it will live like all the time of the JavaScript function, like your browser. But actually in REST, it will like live only the time it has to live. So for example, my like function, when it's going to be unused or called and not called again, is just going to collect it, I think, and it's going to collect everything that I declared inside. Does it make any sense? Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that you need to use REST forget feature. So basically, I'm declaring a JavaScript function, and in order to tell REST to not collect it, I'm just going to tell REST, please don't touch it. And so now, cool, it works. So now I can call my JavaScript function, and everyone is happy. And so as you can see in the, oh, if you can. Oh, no. Oh, damn it. Cool. So as you can see, each time I click on the like button, it will issue a request against my Cloudflare worker, and I will get like the image back. That's pretty cool. And so now I guess this is kind of useless. So what I can do now is have like a couple of routes in my backend. So I already have a like route. So I'll do that. And then I want to create a new route. So I will just return a default string to nothing. I want to create a new route. Each time you click on no, it will just return a specific image or do something specific. And I will do it quickly, I guess, because I will create a new route called no, and it will return only one image, if it makes any sense. Each time you click on no, it will return this image. Maybe at some point you will like it. Cool. So I'm not going to copy paste this function. I'm going to pass my endpoint string, and I'm going to put it into the URL endpoint. Wow. So I think I renamed this one. This one is my like thing, and this one is my no thing. That was so wrong. Oh, so yeah. It's not easy to live code. Cool. So now it compiles. I can still like my lava lamp. It will return a new lava lamp. And so each time I dislike, it will return this. Why? Oh, thank you. Yeah, this doesn't live reload. Why? Thank you. So cool. So cool. So each time I like, it will just return a random one, and each time I dislike, it will return this special one. So I guess it works. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
Questions? So I'll come over.
First of all, impressive. You want to do a demo and make it work and compile, and it actually does the thing you want, and it doesn't all go to crap. That's great. Like, it's awesome. Now my question is, I know JavaScript. I do not know Rust. And in your demo, I see a lot of Rust specific stuff that makes the interaction. I mean, it works, but it's not nice. I also heard about changes in Rust that make it nicer.
Yes.
Like the promise where you say, "Oh, we're back to callback hell." I heard something about Rust await. Now I'm not sure if that actually is relevant to any of this, but is Rust working on the language such that it could make this nicer to work with?
Sure, of course. So you have a way to counter the callback hell, like using async await in JavaScript, and in Rust, you will have some sort of async await too. And yes, it will. Those two features will play together. Yes.
I think currently they're implementing it as a macro, so you have like exclamation mark await. It looks quite similar, but not exactly the same. Like, not anymore. Okay. So yeah, they did this as a first try, but there will be await, async await. So more questions? So yeah, about Cloudflare. So how does it compare to, for example, Lambda functions? Could you just run the same Rust in normal Lambda functions for AWS or for Google Cloud functions? Would it work the same way, or is it just the CDN that's different?
So I guess so. I think where Cloudflare is good is that we have a good CLI called Wrangler, where you can just like deploy whatever project that expose a Webpack configuration. So it can be Rust, it can be C++, it can be anything that has a Webpack configuration, and we'll deploy it to your Cloudflare worker or function. But then it's serverless, so we have pretty much the same feature. I don't know if I can say that, but.
More questions? So yeah, so maybe to continue on this question about Rust, talking about interface types or wasn't bindgen, will this closure wrap, unwrap thing be removed eventually, or will we all have to write Rust this way?
Yeah, so you can see wasn't bindgen as a big interface type replacement, because in the currently you can pass Rust structures back and forth, and once interface type lands, wasn't bindgen can just target this new proposer in order to like pass strings, pass structures. So at some point you will have probably a more natural way to do it, because you will have like less wrapping and less I don't know, translation needed. But I think these features are all going to be under the hood for you. They will probably improve the API. I mean, I think so, like using Rust await. But yeah, I mean, wasn't bindgen will use it.
All right. Any more questions? No. So thank you again for your talk and for coming.
Thanks.
We still have some time for socializing or taking questions to the speakers offline. So yeah, enjoy your stay here and thanks for coming.
Should I stop?